The movie begins in 1987 as Hank Pym and his wife Janet Van Dyne prepare to go on a mission, leaving their little daughter Hope in the hands of their maid. To prevent a Soviet missile from striking American land, they transform into Ant-Man and the Wasp. When Janet went subatomic to launch the rocket into the water, she was lost in the quantum realm and was thought to be dead. Scott Lang was able to resize himself after going subatomic, though. Hope is informed by Hank that Janet might be able to return. Since collaborating with Captain America, Scott has been subject to home arrest for breaking the Sokovia Accords. He's spending the day with Cassie, who is spending the day with him. With the aid of Louise, Scott has created a large play area inside his home, complete with a slide that extends out the door. Unfortunately, Scott's foot slips through the fence, and the FBI comes to check him out. To make sure Scott isn't acting suspiciously, Agent Jimmy Woo directs the examination. Scott tells Woo that he had to think outside the box in order to amuse Cassie, including doing sleight of hand magic. The FBI departs, and Cassie returns home with Paxton and Maggie. Scott tries to keep himself busy as he only has 3 days remaining of his home imprisonment. After taking a bath, he dreams that he is Janet playing hide-and-seek with a little Hope. Despite the fact that neither Scott nor Hope have spoken to Hank since his arrest, Scott subsequently gives him a call. He shares the dream he had with Hank. Scott is calmed by something flying in the room hours later. Hope is in a smaller van when Scott awakens and is being driven somewhere. He is informed that she put his ankle bracelet on a big ant after removing it off his wrist. They get to her and Hank's lab, where they demonstrate to Scott that they have built a tunnel to the quantum realm in an effort to save Janet. After Scott fully explains his dream, Hank and Hope come to the conclusion that Scott's experience in the quantum realm caused him to become quantumly entangled with Janet. They go out to meet with someone who has it because they are lacking a crucial component needed to make the tunnel functional. The lab is reduced in size so that Hank can carry it. They are unaware that a transparent figure is keeping watch over them. The three make their way to a restaurant, where Hope meets with Sonny Birch, a dealer in illegal technology, as Scott and Hank keep an eye on things from the vans outside. Though he knows Hope as Susan, he already knows who she really is by the time she shows up. Birch appears to go away because she won't give Hope the part she needs. Hope in her Wasp suit knocks Birch and his thugs around as they attempt to leave. She has wings and blasters, which strikes Scott as impressive. She confronts them in the restaurant's kitchen and, despite being tossed knives, manages to grow a salt shaker to kill one of the bad guys. The earlier figure, Ghost, attacks Hope as she reaches for the component. She can phase through anything, so Hope's punches pass right through her. In an updated Ant-Man suit, Scott joins Hope to assist her, but Ghost manages to get away, find her way to the van, and take Hank's lab. Scott hides Hope and Hank at X-Con, Louis' security firm with Dave and Kurt working for him. There, they attempt to figure out how to return the laboratory. Hank believes that he must unwillingly turn to Bill Foster, a former friend and business partner. Ghost, whose real name is Ava, visits her house. She must sleep in a unique chamber to regulate her involuntary phasing. To the university where Bill teaches, Scott, Hope, and Hank appear as students. He still has a grudge against Hank over the project they worked on together, Project Goliath, where Bill climbed 21 feet, decades previously. Scott then notices Woo and his fellow agents outside and assumes they are aware he is inside. Bill explains to them before they leave that by altering a diffractor on one of the regulators on the suit, they can find the lab. Scott tells them they can locate it in the older suit, which is in a trophy Cassie brought to school for show and tell, as Hank says they can't use the new Ant-Man outfit because it's still under construction. The regulator on Scott's suit breaks, shrinking him to the size of a small child while he and Hope break into Cassie's school. They get at Cassie's classroom and remove the outfit from the trophy before being discovered. The group finds Ava's house and the lab, but she knocks them all out and has them tied up before leading them to the lab. She discloses that Bill, who raised her as a youngster, is the employer of the company. The experiment her father, Elias Starr, tried to use to enter the quantum realm failed when his own tunnel proved unstable. Young Ava ran back for her father while his wife Catherine attempted to flee with her. Ava survived the tunnel's massive explosion that killed Elias and Catherine but caused her molecules to become unstable, causing her to phase. Now, even though it would endanger Janet's life, she and Bill intend to use Janet's quantum energy to help Ava become normal. Hank tricks Bill into grabbing a can of Altoids for his medication by pretending to have a heart attack, but the can actually contains Hank's trained ants, which swell to a massive size and help liberate the three, allowing them to escape and reclaim the lab. After regrowing the lab, Scott connects with Janet, who proves herself to Hope and Hank by stabilizing the tunnel and entering the coordinates to find her. She then gives them 2 hours to find her before the quantum realm becomes unstabilized and they won't be able to find her for another century, but she also gives them a deadline of 2 hours. Birch and his henchmen arrive at X-Con and use a truth serum to question Louise, Dave, and Kurt. The bad guys swear it's not a truth serum, though. Scott is in the woods where they set up the lab with Hope and Hank, according to Louise. After hearing this information, Ava shows up and disassembles Birch's van before setting out to locate the heroes on her own. Birch then tells corrupt FBI agent Stoltz where Scott will be by making contact with him. Stoltz alerts Wu, and Louise immediately urges Scott to head back home before being apprehended while evading house arrest. Despite Scott's claim that he is Hope, who Cassie believes would also be a wonderful fit, Cassie is with him and believes that he could use a companion to aid him. After shrinking the facility, Hope and Hank are arrested by FBI personnel. Ava knocks Stoltz unconscious before grabbing the lab for herself. Hope and Hank escape from the FBI headquarters with the aid of Scott's trained ants. The three are led to the lab's location by the ants, and Louise joins them as backup. Hank frees Bill using the huge ants so that he can use his previous outfit to enter the quantum realm and search for Janet. Louise grabs the lab as it shrinks once again. Ava attacks Scott as he is acting as Ant-Man, but Scott manages to repel her long enough for Hope and Louise to flee. Scott takes off on a flying ant to reach the rendezvous site in time to meet Hope and Louise, but they are being pursued by Birch and his men as well as Ava. Hope manipulates the van's size to figuratively scare the thugs away. She even grows a Hello Kitty Pez dispenser to hurl at one of them. Hope transforms into the Wasp to battle Ava as Scott grows to Giant Man to stop them. Birch grabs the lab before sprinting to the docks and boarding a ship to escape. To catch up to him and stop him from reclaiming the lab, Scott grows once more. Scott becomes dizzy from being so enormous and falls into the lake as Louise arrives in another car to meet with them. Hope dives in the water to save him. Hank almost loses communication with Janet in the quantum realm, but he eventually finds her at her coordinates, and the two of them reunite with a kiss. Ava and Bill are preparing to acquire Janet's quantum energy in the meantime that the lab has expanded to its usual size. Janet starts to get tired as Hank and Janet start to return as Ava and Bill start the process. When Scott and Hope arrive and shut off their apparatus, Hank and Janet have enough time to leave the quantum realm. Finally, Hope is able to see her mother. In order to stabilize Ava and stop her phasing, Janet places her hands on her after noticing Ava's issue. Everybody departs as the heroes seize the lab. Ava insists them separate even though Bill wants to continue guarding her. When the police show up, Dave and Kurt inject Birch and his thugs with truth serum to render them unconscious outside the lab, which results in their arrest. Birch and his thugs are then rendered unconscious. Wu believes he is aware of Scott's presence on the streets as Ant-Man, but when he visits his house, he discovers Scott there. The end of Scott's sentence means that he is once again a free man. He visits Cassie first thing in the morning. To save his company from failing, Louise ultimately finds a new customer. Janet and Hank build a new house out of things he plants on the beach. For the purpose of using a laptop as a screen similar to a drive-in movie, Scott shrinks himself, Hope, and Cassie into a car. A big butterfly then starts bothering them. Hope has assisted Hank and Janet in setting up the quantum tunnel in a van on a rooftop so that Scott can enter it. To continue assisting with Ava's stabilization, he acquires quantum energy. When Scott is prepared to return, the others are unable to do so, and he is unable to make out any radio traffic. Given that Scott is imprisoned in the quantum realm and Hank, Janet, and Hope have all been transformed to dust by Thanos, this is the case. Well, we hope you enjoyed in this video, and support us by subscribing the channel, as well as like and share the video, and stay tuned for more